Hi, everyone. My name is Frank Candido, and I handle investor relations and corporate communications for NuRAN Wireless Inc. Pleased to have Francis Létourneau, President and CEO of NuRAN Wireless, and Jim Bailey, CFO at NuRAN Wireless, coming to us from London, England. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
We spent a week and a half together. Jim, maybe a little less time with you, but certainly with Francis. And that was a real eye-opener for me. Why don't we start with, chances are our shareholders want to hear about what we announced yesterday, but let's start in chronological order. We attended Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. I was actually very surprised at the turnout. I know, Francis, that for you, you've seen bigger shows than that, but the turnout was tremendous, which signals that business is back. I definitely felt like it was normal, business. And I was actually very happy to see how busy we were and how many meetings you had and the group had at NuRAN. So, Francis, why don't you just talk to us a little bit about, Mobile World Congress and all the discussions that you were having?
Out of the 6 or 7 Mobile World Congress I've been, this is, of course, the best one for us. Every single objective we've given ourselves are checked, 100% achievement. This is the note I gave to the team. We have met everybody we wanted to meet. We have progressed the opportunity we wanted to see progress. And we've also expanded in the future and other opportunity as well. So, Frank, you've witnessed that. It was extremely busy at our booth. Our 2 conference rooms were fully packed all the time. I couldn't speak when I was reaching like 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was a fantastic week for us. Plus, cherry on top of the sundae, we were also selected as finalists and won the pitch to pitch challenge that they launched at MWC over, I don't know how many companies, but we were able to have massive support from the broadcasting of Mobile World Live. Our NuRAN was on the big screen everywhere at the show. It's funny, the day after I was walking in the street and people were like, hey, it's the man that was on screen last night from Pitch to Pitch. So no, I'm not joking. Ask Roxanne. So she was impressed about that. Yeah, we had a fantastic week. We came in with bright eyes and a lot of work to do, of course. And all this work has continued last week and this week. And we aim for something really important that will happen in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I can certainly attest to that, Francis. I was witness to it, and I certainly wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't agree 100%. And yes, congratulations on Pitch to Pitch. I mean, it was actually incredible. And one other thing, we'd like to thank both the Canadian government and the Quebec government for the tremendous amount of support. I mean, having a booth of the size that we had made us look like a serious player at the show. And we were able to do that by leveraging the resources of the 2 levels of government. So that was tremendous as well. Okay, so let's move on to the nitty gritty. Yesterday, we announced up to $17 million of convertible debt, which I'm sure took some people by surprise. But we're going to try to put a perspective on this and explain, the reasoning behind it. So my understanding, and of course, Jim, you can interrupt me at any time. My understanding is that we want to continue to deploy these sites as we're waiting to unlock this debt package that we've closed. I think we've got $24 million that we've closed that we've not drawn on. So we've been using our funds, and we'll get into where we're at in terms of sites. I think people will be very happy to see that we are advancing on that level too. So we've been using our own funds to do that. And hence the reason why we're looking at this type of financing. So the question is that we've closed 2 tranches. The first tranche was for $2 million. And that's a secured debenture. And then the second tranche, I guess, is up to $15 million, for which we have no intention of drawing anywhere near that number. So Jim, why don't you just talk a little bit about the 2 million? I know that 1.3 has now been advanced, so we expect to close the 2 million. And maybe the security aspect of it, scares some of our shareholders. I don't know. But why don't we just talk a little bit about that, and then talk about what our strategy is in closing the second tranche, for which we're looking to use a much smaller number than the number that was announced in the facility.
Yeah, sure, Frank. Well, the first thing it's worth mentioning is just the overall context of this. As you mentioned, we've got 24 million US of development bank financing lined up. I just should point out, it's not closed as such, Frank. It's agreed in term sheets, and we're now in the final stages of getting that closed. It's 24 million, and as we mentioned in the press release, the total project is 30 million. And so what it's going to involve is us bringing 6 million of equity alongside that debt. Okay, so it's a very good ratio in terms of the amount of equity that we have to bring up the whole project. The reason it's a low ratio, it's a low number, is because of the investment we've already made, the sites that we've deployed in Cameroon and DRC. So that's the overall context. We started the discussions with the development banks in the fall last year. We had an aggressive timetable at that point in time, and we were all, and the good news is it's all been very positive. It's all progressing. It's all moving quickly. It was an aggressive timetable. And so the view now is that we're likely to draw that money in the May-June timeframe. Okay. Originally, when we started talking to them, we were thinking March. I mean, everybody has a view that things can go faster. It's basically a reality of business, I'd say, and also the world we live in with COVID, et cetera. Everything gets delayed and put back. So that's where we are now. As we talked about back in the fall as well, our plan to bring that equity money into the company is to do so at the African subsidiary level. Okay, so we're making progress in setting up that subsidiary. The subsidiary will be in Mauritius. It's a preferred domicile for African operations. It has very good treaty network, all of those kind of things. So we are looking at bringing money in at that private level. The investors we're talking to don't want to invest in the public company. They want to invest in private. They want exposure to Africa. They like the development story. They like the energy story, et cetera, the sustainability story. So as we said, that's always been the plan. What we did with this financing and these debentures is really provided ourselves a bridge to get to that point. So as we talked, as you mentioned on the 2 million, the 2 million was a sort of a smaller amount. The second phase, which, as you said, is 15, is really an upside facility. Okay, we can take up to 15. The investors were just of the view that, look, we're negotiating this amount. We like the story. Let's give you the headroom. Okay, we're only going to draw 5 of that initially. Okay, we're discussing the exact, but we're only going to draw 5. We'll use that money, in fact, to clear the 2 million, the secured debenture. So that security will go away when we trigger the second amount. And I think the best way to think of that second amount is it's almost an advance against the 30 million. So what we're able to do, and we will use some of this money to continue the build. We haven't stopped with the build. We've been progressing steadily. Francis can maybe talk a bit more about where we are on our KPIs. But we keep progressing the build. And what that means is, in effect, we are building up the equity, the contribution that we're making into Africa. And so it all counts towards closing that 30 million, closing the 24 million, the 30 million project. So that's our plan with this financing.
Okay, so you've said a lot. So if I understand, just for simplicity, we're closing this 2 million. It's inevitable that we're closing that likely soon. We plan on closing the second facility, but not using anywhere near the amount. but we're going to use that funding to pay off the first facility and therefore clear out the security aspect of the debenture. So that'll be gone, right? And while we're doing that, we've closed $24 million US of debt, for which we need $6 million US of equity at the African level, which we are in the midst of closing or looking to close, hoping to close, whatever language you want to use, but we expect to close. How about that, right? And therefore, we would use some of that money to pay off the money up here in Canada, potentially, and therefore clear out the debenture from the Canadian company, NuRAN Wireless, the PubCo, and then unlock the funding for 120 sites in Cameroon, 850 sites in DRC. Does that summarize it well? Is that what I'm saying correct? Is that the strategy?
Hang on, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And as I said, because we're continuing to build, because we're continuing to deploy, because we haven't stopped any of that, it is equity. And so we are building up that equity pool in the African sub. And so that helps us to close that DFI financing.
Right.
And that's why, Frank, the first paragraph states that this amount could be used or may be used as the equity play for the 6 million.
Right, right. Although we're confident that we're going to close at the African level anyway, therefore we'll, okay, so got it. So really then the other thing, something that we will correct in a formal press release, but that when I read the press release, which of course was drafted by lawyers, so I had nothing to do with the drafting of that type of press release, of course, there was an error, an important error on the second portion, which was the up to 15 million. When I read it, I thought, oh my God, it sounds a bit toxic in terms of the warrant coverage, but there's an important aspect missing from that, which we will correct. And that is that the warrants will be issued, if and when issued, at a 50% premium to the closing price and not at the 5-day moving average closing price, which would suggest that they're getting warrants at the market. So that correction will be made in a future press release. And we apologize if that, scared anybody or, anything of that nature. So I think I understand it. And I'm hoping that our shareholders understand it. Now, the good news, when we were in London and we were doing presentations, we were at 60 sites. At least that's the number we were using in our presentations. But Francis, I think you've got some good information here. It looks like we're at 73 live sites right now. Do you want to go through that quickly in terms of what that means and et cetera?
If you look, thank you very much, Frank, for giving me this opportunity. 73 sites live and continuing. It's funny because at 45 site live in Cameroon and 28 in DRC, we come out with 214,000 people covered today. So what you need to see there, and this is the same that we have seen in when we were doing the financial model, the population per site is way higher in DRC than it is in Cameroon. We saw that, Jim. Remember that the complete business model was based on 7,800 people per site on average. We are really close to that with 7,643 for the first 28 sites. So, but the thing that is also important there, because people would want to see that as a slow pace, but down the line, when you look at this, in the last month or last 2 months, we've been able to show a pace of 30 to 40 sites a month. And in order to reach our objective to get 535 sites done by year end, it means that it requires 48 sites built on a monthly basis. And so far, we've demonstrated that we can do it first, and we can also expedite this because now we're running with a single system integrator in DRC, so a single contractor for us, but we have 3 lined up. So we can ignite the other two. We could also expand and accelerate the pace. And of course, everything will be tied to the cash coming in. So Jim is working on the debt package. That bridge will help us to maintain the pace. But once the DFIs are unlocked, then we can go way faster. But we want to set the pace and to run faster than what we've been doing today. And but this objective is achievable. FYI, Frank, South Sudan, we are starting the site acquisition as we speak. We are aiming to have at least 20 sites built before the raining season, which is massive there, raining plus flooding season. So we've committed with MTN to get 20 sites live for South Sudan before the summer. So we're working towards that path. I was at a meeting this morning. So everything is coming along quite well. And the metrics that we're getting for those sites, the KPIs, key performance indicators, are good. We are above 98.5% availability on our site. So we tick all boxes in terms of site qualities and everything, which is great. So we are connecting Africa as we expect, and we will continue to build. Once we have the 10,000 site done, Frank, we should be covering 55 million people. 55 million people, it's almost twice Canada. And the number of subscribers that we will have on the network will be three to four times the number of subscribers of TELUS and Bell. But bottom line, it's not with the same level of spend for the mobility service on a monthly basis, but we will be an important player. That's what.
Yet perhaps, but one day we don't know.
Coming.
So we need to. It's a real estate grab. That's what we've been saying all along, and I think we're. So a couple of things. So when we were in London in these meetings, one of the things we brought up often in the meetings was, as the time goes on in terms of this year, we're really focused on 2022, that we were going to highly de-risk this deal sometime between now and the end of the year. And what do we mean by that? What we mean is this, is that, so now we've got 73 sites live. All 73 sites are generating data. We've got projections based on the 2,500 sites or so that we have under contract. We talk about $50 million of recurring yearly revenue once all those sites are live. We talk about gross profit margins in excess of 70%. We talk about all that. But until we reach that point where we've got enough data on the sites that are live, that people can really do the back of the envelope and say, hey, you know what? Whatever NuRAN was telling us, the numbers are even better. And so what's important here, and I know that, some of the financing that was announced yesterday, maybe, some short-term pain for very long-term gain or large gain, and maybe not too long-term. Really what we need to do here is we need to deploy as many sites as we can, as quickly as we can, to keep generating this data. And where it's going to unlock, we don't know. Is it 100 sites? Is it 200 sites? Is it 300 sites? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? We don't know. But at some point, that data is going to be our ticket to driving this valuation at much higher levels. Do you agree with that, Francis, Jim?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the let's say frustrations or things that we really want to do and get the story out. And the more people that we can talk to via this avenue, meeting investors and others in London, it's all about telling the story. It's all about showing those metrics. But you're right. And what we've got now, and as Francis said, and as we've been releasing, is metrics that not only are proving our model, but showing that we're exceeding the model. And we did that intentionally with because of arranging the development bank financing, was to really have a case that we could beat, we could exceed. So it's about getting that story out. It's good that I'm here in the UK. It was by design, of course, right, Francis? But I think that the the European investors, London market, etc. I mean, Africa's just next door. There's a lot of activity there. There's a lot of investment coming out of these markets into Africa. There's a lot of understanding. They're closer to some of our customers, Orange Telecom, MTN, you know, these are names that are known. And so the story really resonates. I had a call today, in fact, that was, you know, they love the story. It was, you know, tick, tick, tick. We're sending our models. So people are looking at it, and you know, it's just up to us to get that story out and show that these metrics are proving themselves. And we're not doing 5G. Okay, maybe one day we will. We're doing basic connectivity to uncovered areas. So it's a very tried and tested model. And you know, it's just about, as you say, at what point will we have proven that? At what point will we have enough data? And that will just help the whole story.
Okay, so why don't we end on this? Francis or Jim, feel free, whoever wants to comment on it. We're bidding on over 15,000 additional sites. We talk about this 10,000 number often. You know, maybe you can comment without, obviously what's not in the public domain we can't talk about, but you know, how's the bidding going, and when can shareholders expect to see more sites? Because again, as those numbers continue to grow in terms of live sites, and as we continue to generate that data on those live sites, every time we book a new deal, you know, those numbers will only get better and better and better as we go forward. So when do we expect to, or do we expect to announce new deals in the near future? Like, how confident are you on that aspect? Again, whatever you can say.
I won't go into the details, but one of the objectives of MWC was to tell those operator guys, it's now. And I think they heard us well. And last week we started the commercial process with MTN. So it's they came back, and now they have fully dedicated resources to make it happen as soon as possible. So without disclosing when, they are working on that heavily as we speak, and we need to respond with counter offer and so forth now. So it's coming. It's coming in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Excellent. So today is March 17th. It's St. Patrick's Day, a day that we celebrate in every city across North America and in much of Europe. It's unfortunate that we have to see what is happening with the Ukraine and Russia. It's just terrible. And I know that it's impacting all of us on a daily basis. But as much as we can, as we're coming out of COVID, we just want to wish everyone a, you know, safe and happy St. Paddy's Day, and raise a glass. And we really expect big things for NuRAN, continue to expect big things for NuRAN. We appreciate your patience, and you know, we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that tunnel is getting smaller in distance as we keep going. So thanks to everybody. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.